Hello everyone. Hi Juan. Welcome to Pragmatic Talks by Pragmatic Leaders. Today we are going to discuss about launching a successful beta program with Juan Fernandez. Juan has already joined, and before moving ahead, I would like to give you all a brief about him. He started his product journey with LifeRay, and moving forward, he co-founded a health brand that was named Primum, and is currently working as a product head at Audiense, which is a platform that helps users to understand their audience. So let's start the session. And John, I would like you to take the session forward from here.
Thank you, everyone, for having me today. I'm really excited to be presenting and sharing my experiences with you. Thank you, Yush, for inviting me to this presentation today. So, yeah, let's get it started. My idea for today is to, well, first give a brief personal background on my career, then talk about the importance of beta programs, and then start presenting how to prepare, execute, and learn from these kind of beta programs when launching your products. Finally, I want to do basically some sharing some of the experiences, the good and the bad of real life launching beta programs, so that it's not only theory but also sharing my experiences and my personal adventures during this time. And then I want to spend some time answering every question that you might have about this very interesting topic. So let's get started. I was born and raised in Spain. I'm currently working from my home in Madrid. I studied computer engineering at university, and I had this technical background. I started my career as a software developer, and then I co-founded my own startup. I was the CTO and ran this startup for 5 years, and then I decided to transition to product management when I realized that I was very interested in trying to understand the problems that we were trying to solve by developing software. Um, I've been in product management for 6 years now, and now I am head of product at Audience, as Pius said during my presentation. For the last 6 years, I've launched 7 products from idea to go to market, and that means like more than a product a year. So that's very interesting. And launching each of these products with the beta programs is one of the most exciting things that I've done in my career, and that is what I want to talk about today. So let's get started with beta programs directly. First, regarding what beta programs are, I guess that all of you know what we are talking about, but beta programs is the second phase of product testing. Usually, we have alpha testing, which is done in-house by developers, by the quality team, by the QA team, but it's usually done in-house, right? Beta program is always done with a sample of the target audience in the real world. So that means that the beta program is when your product finally is in a different environment. It is outside your labs, your development places, and it gets in touch with real devices that you have never tested with. In case, for example, of mobile apps, it gets installed in hundreds of mobile phones. In case of websites, it gets tested across multiple browsers that you don't have a lot of control of. So it's the phase when your product touches real world. I wrote down there that hopefully not for the first time, because as you know, in the agile world, you need to, or it is highly recommended to be constantly putting your product in the hands of the end customers. And even before you have the product, you need to be validating the ideas, validating the prototypes, validating everything around the product in front of real customers. But a beta program is an organized way to deliver this before delivering it to the rest of the population. So why launch a beta program? There are companies that, or there might be people that think that this is a waste of time or this is a waste of resources. But I think that it's completely mandatory to launch a beta program before going live with your product. It is so important because you need to learn before the launch date. You know that launching a product is a project that has so many variables, and it is really easy for it to go bad. So having a beta program in place helps you avoid the catastrophe, avoid launching something that is going to fail in the market because of bugs, because of issues, because of performance, because of features that don't make sense, etc. It's also a way to get your product out in the street as soon as possible, because you don't need to worry about, for example, how to align marketing and sales. You don't need to have a lot of things prepared that you need for a real launch in order to launch a beta program. So it helps you get out to the street sooner. And also it helps align multiple team members around success. And this is really important because we usually, when launching a beta program, this is not an initiative that is only affecting product management or is only for product managers, right? This is a task, or this is a project that affects developers, designers, product managers, and also marketing. So it helps have everybody on the same page and get them to achieve one goal, right? In terms of you as a product manager, it is crucial for you to validate the most important things, right? The goal of any product manager is to drive growth by delivering monetizable customer value, right? That is our job, our main mission, right? As product managers in any organization. So doing these validations is what makes you feel certain that you are doing the right thing, right? During this beta program, you will realize if you are providing customer value, if you are solving a real problem, if customers are willing to pay for it, and if what they are willing to pay for is enough to produce the product and help drive business growth. So it is crucial for us to look for a way, and this way is the beta program, to validate this as soon as possible. So as a summary of the benefits of a beta program, first is quality. It will help us detect all kind of bugs that we didn't detect before. It will help us detect performance issues. It doesn't mean that you don't measure performance while you are developing, but I'm talking here about the perceived performance by the users, by your customers. If they perceive the app is fast enough, the app responds well enough, and also testing on new environments. This is especially important in mobile apps, but it affects every kind of software products that we can develop. Other benefits around usability. I've also mentioned that having designers on board is key for the success of the program and the success of the product. So identifying usability issues during this program is key. As product managers, validate which features are missing in order to have your product succeed is key. And then for marketing, start generating interest in the community about an upcoming release of your software or of your company. Is very interesting and inspiring for the marketing team. So this is a key benefit from having this beta program. I will go into more details later. So, well, before we get into details, it is important to say that there are many differences on different industries and different types of products, right? The execution details will be different in the B2B space versus the B2C. When you are launching consumer apps or when you're launching enterprise on-premise apps, they are the details are very different in terms of beta programs, but the underlying value remains the same, meaning that the most important idea that we are expressing with the beta program, which is having your putting your product in the hands of your prospects before it gets to the rest of the market in order to learn, that remains. So personally, all my experience has been in the B2B space. So some of the examples that I'm going to talk about are going to be focused on my experience on B2B space. And then in terms of types of apps, I have launched software as a service products, which is the ones that I'm managing right now at Audience. But I've also launched mobile apps and on-premise apps. So now you have a clear idea on the benefits of launching a beta program. The first thing is how to prepare a program, right? The first thing is to define a plan. First, you need to define what you want to learn and what you want to test. When you have a full app, every app can have hundreds of features, right? It can be really complex or really simple. Having a clear scope of what you want to test on each of the iterations of the beta program is key to be able to measure success or failure, right? Ways to measure success or failure are defining KPIs. For example, how many beta testers achieved certain tasks using your product for the first time, right? Then define how you're going to document and report the results. Given that this program is not for us, it's not for product managers, but for the whole company, for engineering, for design, for management, how are you going to document and report those results? Something that needs to be discussed is incentives to the participants in the beta programs. So most of the beta programs are volunteer-based, but usually organizations want to give some kind of incentives to those who participate. It can be something simple like a T-shirt, or it can be something more advanced like a 20% discount on your next purchase, things like this. And then the duration of the program is going to be a set of 1-hour sessions. It's going to be a program that is going to last 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and then you're going to do several programs. That is something that needs to be defined based on your needs. One of the main questions that I get when talking about beta testers is how many beta testers do you need for a beta program, right? Some people think that they need 100 beta testers or 1,000 beta testers. So Nielsen is a research firm, and they are like the top research firm in the world. And they say that the best results come from testing no more than 5 users and running as many small tests as you can. And this is kind of mind-blowing that only testing with 5 users you can find issues, but certainly I can certify that is real. All the tests that I've done up to 5 users, you start seeing listening to the same issues over and over. So it is true that with such a small amount of users of beta testers, you can mostly find the vast majority of the issues. What I personally think is that 5, if you recruit only 5, some of them will fail in the sense that will go silent or will stop providing feedback during the program. So I will do the double I would say that the best number is 10 per iteration, based on my experience, because I know that sometimes they start failing. So I would recommend that you recruit 10 beta testers per iteration and then focus on those beta testers all the time. The good thing of having such a small amount of beta testers is that you can focus on communication with them. You can spend all your time listening to them and learning from their experiences. So yeah, forget about trying to recruit 50 or 100 beta testers. With 5 to 10 is more than enough. Then, yeah, who's the right beta tester? In order to be able to know who to engage with, you need the user persona, right? By this time, when you have your product ready to be tested, you already have to be able to answer this question on what problem you're solving, who has that problem and wants to pay for it to be solved, and where can I find these people. And if you don't have that information, that generic information, this is the perfect timing to define this. And this is what is going to drive all the marketing effort. This is what is going to define the sales strategy. So you better have this well defined, and this is what is going to inspire you in your search for beta testers. So for example, PR managers that need to identify relevant influencers to launch global marketing campaigns. This is a description of a recent persona that I'm working on. So basically it tells who you need to talk to, what problem do they have, and what they are trying to do, right? Once you have that information, there are many ways to engage with them. This is kind of a game where you need to find people, engage with them, and convince them to play with your product, right? I have always engaged with prospects on LinkedIn, on Twitter, because I'm on the B2B space, and usually it's one of the easiest ways to engage with people. Another way is to have them sign up on your website. So if you have this banner announcing a beta program, you can have people from your community, your website visitors, sign up for the beta test. And that is really good because they already have the motivation. It is them who sign up. Is more proactive than reactive. And also you can search customers and prospects from your own database, from your CRM email database. But it's important to have sales and customer success teams involved here, because you don't want to engage with someone that is in the purchase pipeline, for example, or someone that is an angry customer because they are having technical issues with some of the products that you might have in your portfolio. So it's important to engage with those teams before approaching your current customers and prospects. More ways to find beta testers. If you have a budget for beta testers, you might want to hire them through specialized websites like User Testing or Beta List. There are multiple websites where you hire beta testers, and then they will send you a video, for example, using your product and providing feedback. There are also a series of forums, niche communities on Reddit, on Quora, where you can post and have people sign up for your beta program. The thing is that not everybody is a good beta tester. There are also bad beta testers in this space, and this is really important because family, friends, and coworkers are usually the first people we want to reach out when we have a new app, when we have a new product, in order to show what we have been working on for weeks and months. But reality is that they most probably are not the target audience. Second, they don't want to harm you because they care about you, and they if it's your family and friends, they love you. If it's coworkers, they respect you. They will not give bad feedback in a sincere way. So I recommend not having them in your database of beta testers. So how to engage with these beta testers? Imagine you have this list of 10 to 20 beta testers to engage with. How do you engage them? So I always make sure that I understand the motivation behind beta testers. Why people participate in beta programs? First is because they want to influence your product if they are already customers. They want to be up to date with the latest tech. They are techies and they want to be up to date of what's going on in the market. So they want to participate in these kind of programs, or they want to have exclusive access or free access to the product before it even goes to their competitors, right? So this is like their motivation. So you need to have that into account when you engage with them. First, you need to explain the problem that your product is solving, and that is key. If your product is solving, I don't know, influence identification, you need to engage them and say, hey, I have a solution for identifying the right influencers for your campaign. And that is like the hook to have them engage. And that is really important. Then you need to define the time investment from their side, because at the end of a beta program, participating in a beta program is going to consume time, right? And time is money at the end, right? So you need to be completely honest. If you're going to ask for 2 hours of the time, you need to be honest and say that up front so that they can sign up for it and say, okay, I'm going to participate. And then once you have your beta testers recruited, you're ready to start executing the program, right? The first thing is to do your homework. This is really important. You need to prepare the documentation so that if they have questions, you have everything documented about how to use the product and how to navigate it, etc. You need to define what are called the missions or the tasks that you want them to perform in the product. So if your product is a platform, I don't know, to post on social media, you can have multiple missions like post a video on Instagram or post an image on Twitter, for example. So these kind of missions have to be well documented, and then start defining the right format. One of the questions that I usually get is, do I need to be in person with the beta testers, or can I do those sessions remotely? So I've done both, and it is true that in person you learn way more than remotely. It is true that you have this natural, this body language that tells you when the other person is getting confused with your product, or is getting, annoyed by something, or is getting nervous, or this kind of body language is super useful to identify issues in your product. But it's also true that if you are launching a global product, it is very hard to do these beta sessions in Sydney, in LA, in New York, in Madrid, and in Beijing, and travel to all these places is going to cost a lot, right? So you need to look for the balance. If you have beta testers in your own city and in your own country, you might want to visit them in person, and that would be massively useful. But for the rest, you can do remote sessions, and technology is great to do that. So yeah, you can do some remote sessions, and it will be much cost effective. In terms of live sessions versus on their own, I mean, having them use the product in front of you, or give them some time to do a series of missions and give feedback afterwards. I think that live sessions give you a lot of real-time feedback, and that is great, but sometimes they need to think through in order to be able to digest all the information that they are getting from your product. The risk with having them do it on their own is that they might forget about the program, and they might forget about giving feedback. They might just quit the program because they are super busy, right? Another important thing is to have communication channels well defined, and they have to be open all the time. So every time a beta tester gives you any kind of feedback or have any kind of question, you need to be on top of her. And so if you have email, chat, or phone, or whichever channel, you need to give them access to it and be super responsive. And in terms of the actual sessions, I would totally recommend not to go on your own. I would totally recommend to invite your team, get UX designers and developers with you, so that they also experience what the prospects are finding out, and what their experience is like when using their product. So during the tests, remember, this is a learning experience, right? So it is so important to listen, learn, observe, and take notes of everything that is going on. Have them talking all the time. Try to have them speak up their mind, speak up everything that they are thinking about the product, and asking open-ended questions help them get started with the talking. Questions like, how's the experience so far? What were you expecting here? Things like that. Instead of trying, so by this time you have already spent maybe months creating this product, right? So you know where everything is, you know how to do every single action. So it is easy to get the temptation to explain them how to do that, but don't try to explain things. Let them explore and learn how easy or how hard it is for them to understand everything. And again, if the session is offline, respond fast to every comment, to every engagement. Something important is about feedback. During these tests, you are going to be constantly getting positive, negative feedback. If there's positive feedback, that is great. Ask them for permission to get quotes. This is something that the marketing team will love. Quotes are these sentences here in this slide that you have an example from our website, audience.com. Here you have a customer saying good things about our platform, about our product. And it is key when you're launching a new product to have this kind of social proof. Customers, when they spend money, above all in the B2B space, they don't want to be the first customer. They don't want to find the first bag. They want to be assured that other people in the space have already used your product. They have succeeded using your product, and they will succeed too. So having these kind of quotes is so crucial. If there's negative feedback, don't get frustrated. It's really easy to get frustrated with this, but don't try to justify yourself. If something says, hey, someone starts saying, hey, this is so confusing, or I don't get this, or I don't know how to do this, don't give them explanations. Don't try to justify yourself saying, yeah, we didn't have time to implement this, or that's on our roadmap, will be in the next version, whatever. Just take notes on things that are not working, and this will be driving your future development. Again, all the feature requests, the same, right? They will be asking for stuff. These are prospects asking for new features, for improvements. This is pure gold. This will be your future roadmap, most probably. So enjoy the experience and take notes of everything that you will be learning during these sessions. And once you've done all these sessions with your beta testers, I can assure you it's going to be a super exciting experience. It's one of my favorite experiences as a product manager. So once you're done, you need to make sure that you document everything so that everything that you learn reach the right stakeholders. So all the issues and bugs found, they need to be reported so that the development team can fix them. Every UX journey that was problematic needs to reach the design team so that they can think in new ways to fix them and define journeys that are seamless. Every feature request that they've done, it is crucial for you as a product manager to write it down and add them to your backlog for future consideration in your roadmap. Regarding the rewards, it is time for them to receive whichever rewards that you might have, and above all, thanks them for the time spent. This is fundamental. And then one of the hardest decisions is to decide whether your product is ready to launch to the rest of the public, or in case you are not satisfied with the experience, how many new iterations you need. You know that even super famous products like Gmail have been on beta programs during years, right? So after each iteration, it is up to you and the key stakeholders to decide whether to continue doing more beta programs or finally launch it. It's up to you. And finally, I wanted to share some things that went well, and all the things that were not as funny during my beta programs. This has been like general guidelines on how to do beta programs, but then real life there are so many things that happens. Some are frustrating, some are super funny, and I wanted to share some with you, just to set expectations. So recruiting beta testers, it seems it can be easy, but sometimes it's been quite challenging to me, at least. I had beta products, and no one wanted to participate in some beta programs. So that is already a red flag to me. If no one is willing to participate in a beta program, that means that the problem that your product is supposed to solve is not as relevant, or you're targeting the wrong people, right? So most probably, either your value proposition is wrong or your user persona is wrong. So even if it's hard to take, this is already a really good learning point from a product management point of view. Also, there's testers going silent. You do this work of recruiting them, engaging them, launching the program with them. You send them all the stuff, and then after a couple of weeks, they go completely silent. And that is above all happening when you are doing it remotely. But it's normal. People are really busy, so this kind of things happen. That is why I told you it's better to have 10 beta testers than 5, because of this. I have had experiences where bugs, the product had so many bugs that the beta tests couldn't happen, basically. Problems with the deployment of the version, or problems with browser compatibility, problems with mobile devices compatibility. There are so many things that can go wrong in terms of technical details that, again, it's a great learning experience, but it can be frustrating. In terms of UX, there are certain situations where the UX was so confusing, the copy or the navigation, the information architecture was so confusing that users couldn't understand what the product was about. Even with one of my products, the product name was confusing, and the expectations were completely wrong. So we had to rename the product. Again, a great learning experience, but it was a lot of fun back in the day. And in terms of product management, something that is really interesting is to realize that we have implemented features that were not needed, that basically added complexity and noise to the product, that didn't help our users to do whichever tasks they needed to do. And basically, we could use this insight to remove features that were not needed. And the opposite was also true in some of my beta tests. Realizing that without certain key features, the product was useless. For example, having a data analysis product that didn't export data in Excel format, for example, made it useless if even after all the work done for having beautiful dashboards, beautiful UI, beautiful reports in the app. Without data export, the product was not going to be used, for example. Or notifications. It can be something similar that you can ignore for a while, but customers with I don't know, 50 tabs open in the browser, they're not going to be visiting your product from time to time to see what's new in there, right? They need notification, email notifications, for example, or push notifications. So without those features, the product is useless. So discovering these kind of things has been a great experience. On the good side or the bright side of the story, I have to say that beta testers are exciting people. They are super passionate about technology, about products, about life in general. So having being around these kind of people is really positive. Really enjoyed this kind of experience, and have built lasting relationships after the beta program. So the relationship that you build with beta testers sometimes go beyond the beta program and expands during years if they become customers or they get engaged with you in different ways. Maybe they become a provider, they become a customer, they are just engaged through social media or whatever. But it is true that you can build good relationships with your beta testers after the beta program. And one of the best things that you get out of a beta program is that if you launch the product, you will have less, you will be less prone to chaos. And there's a lot of uncertainty every time you launch a new product, but having these beta programs give you peace of mind and that you sleep well at night because you have validated that your product provides value, that it works in many different scenarios, and that people like it. So it gives you peace of mind. And a good outcome out of the beta program can be that, and have experienced this too, that your beta testers are pissed off for taking the product away after the beta program. That is like the best outcome. That means that you have built something that is really valuable, that they need it, that their life is better thanks to it. So that's like one of the best satisfactions for a product manager. And that's all. Before getting to the Q&A session, I want to highlight my top 5 key takeaways. So I would start with highlighting how beta programs are really important for the success of any product. This way to learn, validate your assumptions, and ensure quality is fundamental for any proper product launch. The third point is that you don't need many testers. You can find them relatively easy nowadays through social media, through LinkedIn, and in multiple niche websites. But the key is that you don't need that many testers. So don't let that be an excuse. If there's positive feedback, ask for quotes. That will go straight to your website, and that would be great social proof for your product. And sometimes it can be hard, it can be disappointing to run these kind of beta programs, but it's always worth it. So yeah, that's it. And here you have a link to my blog. I have shared a series of product management experiences in there, and also my personal email and my Twitter account in case you want to engage with me. And now it's time for questions. I think I have the chat here. So the first one is on-premise equals intranet. Yeah, so one of the products that I have managed was Liferay, and Liferay Portal was a piece of software that you had to download and install on the server, on the servers of the company. That is what I mean by on-premise. And yeah, intranets built with that product are on-premise. Yeah. So this a very interesting question. Is it necessary to give away the product for free for a beta test? So given that most of the beta testers are volunteers, charging them for testing the product seems a bit unfair to me because you're asking them to do something as a volunteer. So this is a win-win situation. You are learning from the experience, and they are getting something in exchange. So I've always done it for free. But I understand your point. I've also had beta testers that wanted the product for free and then never gave feedback. So what I would do is just get access to the product after a week or a couple of weeks without any kind of feedback. Then the same person asks, a serious discount should be okay. Yeah, so again, I have always given away beta programs for free or beta products for free, and I think that's the best way to move forward. Yeah, so the one thing is that beta beta programs are based on honest feedback, right? If someone is paying for a product or for a service, they already have expectations in terms of quality, in terms of service, in terms of response times, right? So maybe as a beta product, you are not able to deliver to those expectations. So if you are charging for them, they will be more demanding than a normal beta tester, I would say. So my recommendation is to go for free. I have another very interesting question. What metrics do you use to define the success of a beta program? So in terms of KPIs, I would say first, depending on the number of missions that I define for every program. For example, one mission could be sign up in the website, create your first report, for example, and then download the report in a PDF format. Imagine that is one of the tests that I want a beta tester to do. I would then rate how many of the beta testers were able to succeed. So that is one of the ways. Another way is to send a survey after the beta program, asking for how the experience was. So having this kind of NPS, Net Promoter Score surveys is another way to measure how successful or unsuccessful the program was. There are multiple ways, and it depends on what you want to learn. You remember the goals that I defined in the one of the first slides. Those goals will define the KPIs of the program. So I have another question. What timelines do you generally look at? So I usually think 1 month is enough to define a program, engage with the customer, with the prospects, spend a couple weeks getting feedback from them, and then document everything. So yeah, I would say that 4 weeks is a good beta program to me. But again, it depends on every product. It depends on the complexity of the product. There are very simple products that can be tested really fast in a couple hours, but more complex B2B products can take more. So yeah, I would say that 1 month is enough to gather all the feedback and then decide if you want to iterate or launch the product. I have a question. Did you share you reach out via Twitter or LinkedIn, but how do you find your user persona? I think it's easier when it's B2B or B2C. Yeah, so in B2B, I think one of the easiest ways is to find your user persona based on the role. So for example, if my target is a digital marketer, I can really easily find digital marketers on LinkedIn and get in touch with them and explain them that we are doing this beta program. So it is super easy to do based on roles. In the B2C space, it is true that it's harder if you are, for example, trying to, I don't know, you have created an app for people who like running in Europe. So imagine that. Identifying that people might be a little bit harder, but you can do that kind of searches through Twitter, for example. You can identify a series of brands that they will follow and then engage with followers of certain brands. So in the B2C, identifying that kind of users can be done through social media searches. That is how I would do it on Twitter. Let me read the questions. Is the beta program process applicable for every single product feature being rolled out, especially in an agile? Isn't it tedious? Yeah. So I've done beta tests for complete products, complete new products, but also for features. I wouldn't do it for every new feature at all. That would go against agile, I think. I think beta programs must be reserved to big chunks of work. I would say, or areas of the product or areas of the app that are not, in terms of quality, are not as good as the rest of the app. So, for example, you are launching a new feature that is a little bit unstable, and you want to play with it and you want to test with it before making it available to everyone. You would add a simple beta level to the feature and let people know that it is not ready, but it wouldn't be like a proper program like the one I have described. I have a question here. Have you faced issues getting people for the beta program? Yeah, I have said before, there are some times where I try to engage with people and no one seems to be interested in what I was asking for, right? But it meant that the people were not the right people and I couldn't articulate the value of my product well enough. And that is really important. If you are not able to define in a single sentence that you're going to send in a LinkedIn message or in a tweet, if you're not able to define in a single sentence what your product is solving, how you are going to make that person's life easier, and you're giving it away for free. If they are not interested, even for free, then you have a problem. No one's gonna buy that product, right? If you're not able to have one person use it for free, who's gonna pay for it, right? So that is already a good lesson. So you need to really think through who the target customer is and what problems you're facing, and how you are communicating that. Another thing is that in the B2B space, the user persona and the buyer persona are different, right? So you might get in touch with someone that is very interested in the product, in the problem that you're solving, but he's not the person that makes the purchase decision. So you also need to be prepared to engage with the other person, and that is something that beta programs can be really helpful at identifying when you are engaging with someone, saying, asking questions like, would you be open to spend, I don't know, $100 a month for a subscription like this? And then they will explain that it is not up to them. It would be their department manager, for example, things like that. So that is also something to have into account when recruiting people for the beta program. Okay, I have another question here. Any resources you'd like to share with folks getting started with product management? And what are the ones that you generally follow? Yeah, I think, Twitter is great. for being up to date with the industry. I always follow Broad MGMT, this hashtag that, let me write it here in the chat. I follow this hashtag, and I'm always up to date on all blog posts that are written in there. I think that is great. Then I have some resources. No, I follow this on Twitter. People usually tweet about good stuff using that hashtag. There are a couple of groups on LinkedIn on product management that are very interesting, but they don't have as much activity as Twitter. Then there's a newsletter that I think is pure gold, which is the Silicon Valley Product Group. If you go there, you can subscribe to the newsletter, and they send, I think every week or every couple of weeks, they send a newsletter with articles, with information about product management, open job positions in product management. So I also recommend that. And there's another newsletter called Prioritized. I think it is called Prioritized. And that's also a good resource. They send every week. They send good articles about product management. I think this is best. And then there are a series of books that I recommend to people getting started. So one of my favorite books is Marty Higgins. This guy has written this awesome book that I really recommend. Inspired, yes, who has. Inspired is the name of the product and of the book. Sorry, and it's really awesome. I really recommend reading it. I think it's like the Bible of product management. I really recommend it. And then there's another book that is called Crossing the Chasm, which is more about strategy, but it's also really interesting to read. Those are like the top two books in product management that I would recommend. I think that's it. I usually get, so for new product managers, I get the question on how to transition to product management. I wrote this article when I transitioned from the development team to product management team. I wrote this article explaining that experience, how it was, and all the changes and the transformation, the internal transformation that I had to experience to transition from developer to product manager. So if you want to have a read at it, it's in on my blog on medium.com. So go check it. I think that's it.
Thanks a lot, Juan, for joining and sharing your experience with us today. And the session was really helpful, and I hope every one of us have got answers to all our queries. And in case you have any queries, you can reach out to Juan. And you can also reach out to us if you are looking for a transition in product management. Before ending, I would like to give you all a brief about Pragmatic Leaders. We are building this with a motive to bring product management discourse to the forefront. And with this, we have designed an entire online product management course where, along with the live sessions, you will build and ship a real product being paired up with our in-house development team. And I'm sharing the link of our website in chat section. You can check it out here, and you can check out our website for our upcoming events as well, and you can register from here as well. And thanks a lot, Juan, once again for joining us.
Okay, so thank you, Piyush, and take care, everybody. Bye.